Hey, so a question that frequently comes up from people who are on the outside looking in at a relationship dynamic is why do people stay in toxic relationships? Why wouldn't they just leave? And one of the things that to help people understand is that they don't start off toxic. No one would walk into a relationship and be like, oh, this is horrible. I think I'll stay here. Generally speaking, in a codependent relationship, in the dynamics, it's interesting because it's almost like the taker dumpster fire portion of the relationship. It's like whatever relationship that you run into that involves codependency, it's almost like they graduated from a school, like they all went and took the same course in how to do this. And it's just an innate part of the personality disorders that are associated with these types of people. Most of them have some level of narcissistic or sociopathic or a combination of the two personality disorder, and the dynamics that they create in a relationship are consistent. As a former police officer, when I would respond to domestic violence calls, it would blow the women away. And sometimes men, it's not always women who are victims of this type of dynamic. But when I could sit down and tell them about their relationship before they told me, it's just that consistent. And it's kind of creepy, really, when you think about it, but that's how strong subconscious patterns are. So, anyway, in the beginning of the relationship, the majority of the taker dumpster fire portion of the relationship, they start off with love bombing. And they'll go out of their way over the top, just blow you away with all of these acts of they'll send flowers, do some big financial investment, like, take you on a trip or, you know, buy clothes for your children, cover a bill. They come in like the knight in shining armor on the white horse that you're the best thing ever. And there's nothing they like more than to see you happy. And they do everything in their power to show you just how wonderful you are. And so in that beginning portion of the relationship, that's when the victim and or giver develops their belief about this other person. And when that happens, they develop a subconscious belief that this person truly cares about them, that this is a very good person and they're here and they want to help and they think that you're wonderful. And as things progress, the love bombing turns into gaslighting. So now the person that you have a subconscious belief is a great person is doing things that aren't compatible with your belief about them. And our subconscious has this thing called cognitive dissonance, where if we have developed a subconscious belief about a person, a situation, anything, our brain will fight to maintain that belief. So even though to the outside person looking in, the relationship has turned toxic and this person is not very nice to the giver and they say mean things and they tear them down and they insult them. In the giver's subconscious mind, because they have this belief that this person cares about them, they will rationalize the behavior and it actually leads them to be more susceptible to the gaslighting when the dumpster fire is telling the giver that their horrible behavior is the giver's fault and making the giver question their reality and their perception. And because in the giver's subconscious mind, they believe this person cares about them, they start to say, well, maybe it is me. Maybe they didn't say that. Well, maybe they really had good intent. And so that's where the subconscious mind of the giver is trying to keep that belief intact. And they're not doing it on purpose. It's just how our brain works. So now the dumpster fire has the giver convinced that the relationship is shit because of their behavior, not this person's, which is generally the case. And so the giver, in trying to keep this person who really loves them, keeps giving more. and more and more. And so it becomes this very toxic cycle. But people stay because it either, if it's someone who didn't have codependent behaviors prior to, you can see where the way the subconscious mind works, this could lead to being stuck in this toxic codependent pattern because the brain is rationalizing everything. And with the gaslighting, it puts the giver into such an unstable place that they don't trust their own perception, their own intuition. And so they don't see the situation for what someone from the outside looking in sees because they're so unstable. And a lot of people are kind of prone to that type of dynamic anyway from old belief systems and attachment patterns from their childhood, where ironically, that almost feels natural to them. So, just wanted to throw this out. Another little bit of information about codependent relationships, toxic relationships, and if you check out in the description box below, January 7th, the group coaching course Unfuckwithable begins, and it's a 12-week program. Registration is open now. Um, Codependency is kind of my specialty. I do offer other services, however, and all of that information is available through the website link in the description box below. If you are in that type of situation, please seek help because it doesn't get better. It only escalates and gets worse. And best case scenario, I know this sounds sad, is that the dumpster fire uses up everything they can from the giver and they go off to find a new source. A lot of times, what happens, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, this is actually my own personal experience where the giver realizes how horrible things are and decides to leave. And then the dumpster fire becomes very aggressive in trying to maintain their control and their ownership of the giver because someone with the narcissistic, sociopathic type personality disorders cannot love in the way that one who's in a more healthy place understands love to be. To them, it's ownership and control. So it's like someone stole your couch and you're trying to get it back. It's not even the concept that you're hurting another human being. And I'm sure you've all heard of situations where domestic violence or the codependent relationship has actually escalated to the point of homicide and sometimes homicide suicide, where the dumpster fire takes out the victim and then themselves. So it's not something to be taken lightly. It is very toxic, and even if it doesn't escalate to violence, it does so much damage to the giver in that dynamic. So please seek help somewhere because you can heal the things that have made this situation attractive to you if you had codependency type tendencies prior to. And if it's just, you got stuck in this trap, this cycle with the way that they use the manipulation and the gaslighting and the love bombing and all of these things, all of that can also be healed. We can reprogram your subconscious mind, straighten out your belief systems, clean up those thought patterns, rebuild your self-esteem so that you live on that pedestal where you deserve to be. And you won't have space for those type of people in your life anymore. You'll see them a mile away. So I hope this helps. I will talk to you soon. Love and light.